Hello everyone, welcome to Hang with Willie. I am your host, Willie Mayette, creator of Hang with Willie and pianowithwillie.com. So I have some exciting news for you. The hangs are going to be changing a little bit. All right, they're still going to continue to be weekly. They're still going to continue to be free. They're going to be about 15 to 20 minutes rather than a full half hour. I've found that that amount of time is going to be a little bit better for students that can't spend the entire half hour on the hang. But then also what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to make sure that the video is available for free for everyone. So it's not just going to be up there for 1 week. All of these hangs will continue to be up there on the website. The past ones are going to just get moved over to our Piano with Willie website. Also, if you want the sheet music for the Hangouts, again, you need to be a member of Piano with Willie in order to get the sheet music for the Hangouts. However, I have something brand new that's going to be coming out, which is going to be a brand new weekly lesson that's going to be very structured. I'm working on the outline right now. It's going to be very structured, and you're going to be working on kind of jazz piano. All right, it's going to be the focus is going to be jazz piano, but it's really going to be good for any type of style. And it's going to be weekly stuff, and if you're a member of Piano with Willie, you will get access to that as part of your membership. If you're not a member of Piano with Willie, but you're a member of one of my microsites, then you're going to get a deep discount on being able to get access to that as well. So I will let you know about that as I put the finishing touches on that, and I get it more together. I will let you know some more details. Also, still working on those chord essentials. The goal is to get them up there by next week. Okay, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have at least the key of C up there by next week. Going to be really cool. You're going to really enjoy those chord essentials. Again, that's another benefit for my Piano with Willie students. But when I say Piano with Willie students, I know I have students at homeschool piano, at rock piano lessons, at funk piano lessons. I haven't forgotten about you guys either, all right? So I'm going to make sure that there's a way in which you guys can get access to the chord essentials, again, for a deep discount as well, okay? All right, so today what we're going to be focusing on is Amazing Grace, and I'm going to be doing a reharmonization of Amazing Grace. I just want to tell you, Carrie is out today, so she's not going to be on the Hangout. She won't be answering questions, so the chat is just going to be amongst students for today, and this video will not be up there today. It will be up there tomorrow on the site, or maybe even on Monday. All right, so the first thing with Amazing Grace, we're just going to start with just the basic melody here. So we just have... Okay, so, and then this is really two measures over here. I just wrote it out of one measure for space, okay, but it would really tie over into two measures, still a G chord. Okay, so you'll notice that what we have going on here is we have a 1 chord, a 4 chord, and a 5 chord, okay? These are our diatonic chords. These chords right here, that C over E, is what we would call a slash chord, all right, or a chord with an alternate bass note. So we first of all have to start by reviewing our diatonic 7th chords. Remember, diatonic just means that it's using notes only from that major scale, okay? And I'm building 7th chords on each of those notes. So I have 1 major 7, 2 minor 7, 3 minor 7, 4 major 7, 5 down on 7th, 6 minor 7, 7 minor 7 flat 5, and then 1 major 7. Let me close this down so we don't get... Alrighty. All right, so I prefer to call this 7 minor 7 flat 5. Some people call it 7 half diminished, right? So whatever your preference is. All right, so you need to know these diatonic chords. If you don't know these diatonic chords, then just go to the site and do a search for the word diatonic, and we have a bunch of lessons on these diatonic chords. Now, let's move to minor. All right, so if we have our C natural minor scale, which again is the same thing as my E flat major scale, just starting on C. All right, so now I have 1 minor 7, 2 minor 7 flat 5, flat 3 major 7, 4 minor 7, 5 minor 7, flat 6 major 7th, flat 7 7, that means dominant 7th, and then 1 minor 7. Now this is what's interesting about this. See if I can get this. Yes, enough. Okay, good. So now if you look at this, let me do this and get a little box going here. Okay, so now if we start right here, okay, whoops, okay, so this, you'll notice, is, actually, no, I'm sorry, not there. Let's do it from, where's the right spot? Yeah, okay, yeah, that is it, okay? So if you look at from here, okay, so this flat 3 right here, remember I said this is the same thing as an E flat major scale, right? So if I went to E flat, what do I have here? I have major, minor, minor, major, dominant, minor, right? Same thing over there, minor 7 flat 5, back to major. Notice it's the same exact pattern here. Major, minor, minor, major, dominant, minor, minor 7 flat 5, back to major, okay? Because what you notice here is that this is really my E flat major diatonic chords starting from right here. So this would be 1 major in E flat, 2 minor in E flat, 3 minor in E flat, 4 major in E flat, and so on and so forth, okay? So all that's happening here, what I'm trying to say is, like this thing right here, this major pattern is just getting shifted. That's it. So now we're starting basically, where are we starting? We're starting on the 6. So we're starting on, this becomes 1 minor, 2 minor, 7 flat 5, and then flat 3 major, 4 minor, 5 minor, flat 6 major, flat 7, 7, back to 1 minor. Okay? So just a different way of looking at it. But an easy way to start is you start with your C minor scale here. Okay? So you start with that C minor scale. Again, these notes. Okay? And you build your diatonic chords using only notes from the scale. So that means we don't play that, okay, because E and B are not in the scale anymore. It's an E flat and a B flat. So we play this. Okay? All right, so now I was playing around with this last night, and playing around with Amazing Grace and just seeing like, okay, so now what happens if I just kind of like move back and forth between my major diatonic chords and my minor diatonic chords? And this is what I came up with, and this is what I want to share with you, and this is something that you could practice. So let me just play the whole thing for you. You won't get to see the second half just yet, but and also I didn't put the pickup in there, so. Is that nice? And all I'm doing here is I'm moving between my major diatonic chords and my minor diatonic chords. So let's break this down and let me show you a little bit more of how I'm doing this. All right, so if we go back to our first one here, our basic example, we have C, C over E to F, back to C. Okay, so it's just, again, a 1, 4, and 5. Don't get confused by these slash chords. It's still a 1 chord right here. So now, what do I start with? I still start with the 1 chord. Notice the basic harmony is still there. Still a 1 chord, and in the third measure, I go to the F, the 4 chord. Well, same thing here. First measure, C, and then third measure, go to the F, okay? All right? But now, what happens here? Now, you could look at this, you could say, all right, well, what he did was he did a 2-5-1 progression, right? So I basically did this 2-5-1 progression, okay? But this is also how you can look at this, and this is how I kind of got to it as well. I was just playing around with it. And I'm like, all right, well, now what about my 5 minor from that minor? Well, that's kind of interesting, that 5 minor. Well, now I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a G minor, then why don't I also then try going to that C7? I make it a 2-5. Right? So that's 5 minor chord from minor, right? So the 5 minor chord from minor, right? The 5 chord, the 5 diatonic chord from minor, right? Led me to thinking, oh, what about this 2-5-1? Okay? So it's just another way of getting to the same thing. And that's what's really important, is that, there's multiple ways in which you can come to the same solution. Do you remember in school, you know, it's like your teacher wants to see your work, okay, when you're doing math, because there's multiple ways of getting to the same solution, right? If you need to count to 10, you can count on your fingers, your toes, and your head, like, you know, 2, 2, 2, 5, and 5, you know, it's like you have all of these different options available to you. So same thing in music as well. There isn't just one way. You know, it's not just like, oh, well, if I just learn my 2, 5, 1s, like that's all I need to know. No, like thinking about it differently will spur different ideas. Okay, so now if I was staying in that minor, all right, okay, now here, now I'm thinking, like, why don't I try going down that flat 7, 7? I added in that sharp 11 in there as well. I like that tension. Okay? And it now changes the whole dynamic of the song right there. So the basic version is, I go back to the 1 chord there, right? But now I have kind of gives you this light and airy thing. It's like kind of like, whoa, where are we going next? Okay? I could have actually modulated into E flat there, because B flat is also the 5, 7 chord to take me to E flat. So you see how I'm thinking of this B flat 7 chord as borrowed from minor. Okay, so this chord is borrowed from C minor. Okay? But now I can also think of this B flat 7 chord as being the 5 chord in E flat major. Again, remember how I showed you in the diatonic chords there, how, you know, you have the major ones and then you have the minor ones, and it really just kind of shifted, okay? The minor diatonic chord is really just like starting, you know, a little bit later on, starting on the 6th of the major, right? So this is another way of thinking about, like, oh, okay, so I'm at that B flat 7. I can borrow that from minor, okay? And then now I can maybe go on to E flat. But I didn't go on to E flat. Instead, what I did was I moved down to the 6 minor chord, okay? And then this, again, is borrowed from where? From major. That's right. So it's right out of your major diatonic chords, okay? It's not in minor, it's right in major. So flat 6, I'm sorry, my 6 minor. So, sorry. Again, this is just an alternate bass note. But now check this out. So now what's this right here? This F minor is now what? Is it diatonic to C major, or is it diatonic to C minor? Yeah, it's diatonic to C minor. This is the 4 minor chord. So really what I've done here is I've pulled out, I'm not even going to consider this G minor to C as being borrowed from minor. I'm just going to look at that as a 2-5 for right now. But what did I do? I pulled out 2 really important chords here. This B flat 7 chord, right, which is flat 7, 7, and then this F minor chord, which is the 4 minor chord in the 4 chord in minor. All right. So pulling out, notice I didn't have to pull out a lot of stuff. I still kept it mostly diatonic. Now let's say that I keep those chords, okay, and I'd use the simple chords for everything else. Remember those simple chords right back up in here? I'm going to use these simple chords up in there, and I'm just going to replace the B flat 7 and the F minor, okay? So I have, still works, okay? So I don't have to put in all of these other chords and, you know, jazzy sounds, and I didn't have to go to 6 minor. I could have went back to the 1 chord there. That's fine, but I decided to try going to 6 minor. Now, where do you go from here? This is where now you can start to explore some of these other chords. So you got flat 3 major, flat 6 major. You know, those are really kind of cool chords to try playing around with. So like, you know, kind of interesting as well, you know, going to flat 6, then to flat 3 there, right? So try messing around with that and see what it is that you come up with, all right? There's no one right way of doing this, okay? So, you know, what I would suggest that you do is pay attention to the melody and the chord that you're playing. So like in other words, like when I did like this, like if I go to A flat there, well, gee, a sharp 5 on an A flat major 7 chord, man, not really gonna work all that well, is it? Okay, so could I do the D minor 7 flat 5? Yeah, I guess I could. You know? And what I suggest you do is try just playing one chord, just rather than doing a bunch of different reharmonizations, just look for one. So this one coming up on this note, on the G. All right, so now what can I do? I'm supposed to go back to C, right? But now what if I went to E flat there, right? Or I went to A flat, or I did both. Check this out. Start to do like a kind of like a straight eighth kind of feel. You know, you can really kind of like get some cool ideas and use that as a springboard, okay? And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to utilize this stuff as a springboard for new ideas, okay? All right, so anyway, that's it for today. Like I said, we're gonna do a little bit shorter, all right? Because I wanna give you something a little bit more bite-sized that you could take away and that you could work on and, you know, use throughout the week. Like I said, though, I got some special stuff coming up for my members, and I mean all of my members. Homeschool Piano, Drums with Willie, Funk Piano Lesson, everyone, okay? So make sure you're checking your email box and checking out these hangs as well. Today's hang will not be available on the site today. It will be available tomorrow. So thank you for your patience, and I will see you guys next week.